really most entertaining ones actually took place about, I want to say, oh gosh, how long has it been? 7, 8 years ago. And I was actually with a friend of with my best friend. She is Native American, and she's also a medicine woman. And we were actually doing, we were on vacation, and we were actually we went to, one of the things we do is that we stock Rick Springfield. And we were in Mexico on the sand trip. And so we were at Club Med in Cancun. And as it turns out, she had never been out of the country. I've traveled, all over the place. And we were at the first night on the trip. And as it turns out, there was a concert on the beach. Well, Mr. Springfield had a bit too much red wine, and the concert ended early. And my best friend and I went to the bar, and we were sitting there. And of course, this is an all-inclusive resort, and I was really angry because I was really irritated, and I was kind of making my opinion known to her how crappy this was, and she'd never been out of the country. And all of a sudden, from across the bar, literally, and this is an open air, bar, and this is probably about 11 o'clock at night, all of a sudden I hear, "Oh my God, it's Reverend Shea. Oh my God, it's Reverend Shea." And next thing I know, I'm surrounded by this gaggle of women. And it is two of my clients from the East Coast. And they were bragging about me. And they were, I don't want to say fangirling it, but you get to know people after a while. I had no idea that these ladies were on the trip. Well, my best friend had gone back to our room, and these ladies were talking about me, and I was handing out my business cards, and they're like, "Hey, can you do readings while we're down here?" The last thing I wanted to do was work, when I'm on vacation. Well, as it turns out, I was sitting next to Mark Goodman. Mark Goodman is, if you are any, he used to be a VJ on MTV.
MTV VJ.
Well, Mr. Goodman is quite good friends with Mr. Springfield. And I did not know that I was sitting next to him at the bar. And so he heard all of this going on. And these ladies, I basically agreed to do a couple of readings for them, and I actually managed to book 2 of them up. I'm like, "Can we wait until, we get back, back stateside, and then let's do this?" Well, I ended up actually talking with him, and for about 45 minutes, he actually worked for Cirrus. At the time, he worked for Cirrus, and gave me his business card. And the whole time I'm fangirling because I loved him when I was, when I was in high school, and I'm sitting next to I'm thinking, I'm sitting next to a celebrity. Well, what was really funny was the next morning, we went to a meet and greet with Rick Springfield, and there's pictures of, you take pictures with the celebrities. Well, I got up to Mark Goodman and, gave me a big hug, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" He goes, "I want to talk to you when we get back stateside." But apparently he had also told Rick Springfield I was a psychic. And so that was kind of a weird trip, but I actually ended up, it actually worked to our advantage, and we got some extra perks we hadn't planned on doing. But, it's just, you never know who you're going to meet. I've been very fortunate that I've investigated a lot of really cool places. And I have the great fortune of being blessed with great clients. I mean, everybody has their list that they can divulge. Well, I have mine. But I will tell you that there have been some really entertaining adventures. I've been very fortunate to go and investigate some of the most haunted places, in the country. And, I'm drawn to New Orleans. That's kind of my second hometown. And we had a really entertaining experience when I was down there last May with my former boyfriend and I. And walked into a haunted place, and the people knew who I was. The people in the shop, in this witchcraft shop, knew who I was when I walked in. And it's a very haunted place. They were like, hey, are you picking anything up? And next thing I know, there's a crowd around me. And, the boyfriend, being fairly new to all of this stuff, got a little bit freaked. So, lots of fun stories. I really never had a bad experience. I've been really fortunate. Have I run into people that have been kind of naysayers? Yes. But at times, I like to joke as my party trick. Sometimes people get kind of, they get kind of skeptical, get kind of cocky, and maybe kind of try to cop an attitude with me. Oh yeah, well, what can you tell me about me? Well, and the joke is among my friends and my close friends will tell you, you don't want to give Shea that question, because I will give you exactly what you're asking for. And the look of shock on people's faces is absolutely hilarious. And these people walk away and they go, how did she know that? Did you tell her something? Did you? So, you have those fun stories that happen. But I think we all have those different kinds of experiences.
I know I do. Did that shop happen to be off Bourbon?
No, it was not off Bourbon.
Okay, because I know there's a voodoo shop off of there that I got the strangest vibe, and we spent probably 3 or 4 hours in there. It's a tiny shop, but we spent 3 or 4 hours in there having to look at every single thing.
Yeah, there are several. One of the things that I love about New Orleans is, you can be whatever you want to be. I'm very fortunate that I know a lot of people down in the spiritual community down there. So, a lot of my clients are from all over. And, but, I do a lot of work with other readers. That's something I think that, I really don't advertise a lot about, but, other readers come to me, just like, we all have people that we trust. And, going down to New Orleans and walking into a place to where people go, I've seen you on Facebook. I've seen your Facebook Live. Someone has, forwarded me a link or something. I mean, when you see my picture, obviously I'm very distinctive in my look. And so, it's the hair, I think, that gives it away. But, it's kind of disconcerting at the same time. But, at this point, I've gotten used to it. I look at it this way. When you agree to do this work, you have to be in the public eye, and you have to conduct yourself accordingly. And it's just part of the gig, and I really have made a point of acknowledging those people when they come up to me and say, hey, I've had a reading from you, or I've heard about you, can I get a card or things like that. I've really never had any like stalker people or anything like that. But I also make a point of treating those people with respect and to be as kind as possible. But, there is also having to draw a line, to have a private life. And so, I just make a point of very gently redirecting folks. If, they're kind of hanging around and wanting to talk, give me their life story, I'll have to be nice but gentle and firm and say, why don't we get together another time and have this discussion? So, it's kind of a double-edged, again, I don't mind it. Sometimes it can be a little claustrophobic, but I think you have to, it's part of the thing when you sign up for this, I tell that when I mentor other readers of, this is going to happen. And I've been doing this 30 years. I'm 48. So this gives you an idea, you build up a reputation over time. And I'm just fortunate that, I don't have a bad reputation. And I look at every interaction as a blessing. I look at, people, I want people to walk away and go, she's not a snot, or she's not uppity. You know what I mean? It's more of, I would rather people walk away and go, she's legit. She's a real person too. And so that's kind of how I do things.
Kat asks if the shop that you were on was on Rampart Street.
I will give, where I was at, yes.
Okay.
It was on Rampart.
Kat goes down there a lot. She's really good friends with Bloody Mary.
Yes.
So.
Well, if she does go to New Orleans, and I know we're probably not supposed to pimp other businesses, but a very dear friend of mine, there is a new store that has opened on the edge of the French Quarter called Dark Lady of New Orleans. And Hogan Matt actually used to own a store here in Kansas City called Casey Conjure. And he has relocated. He's been down there for a couple years now. And Matt is a brilliant reader, but he's also a dear friend. And he has a beautiful shop. It's been open now about a year and a half. But he is the voodoo high priest, and but the shop is wonderful. That culture down there is so intermixed with just such richness of just every tradition you can imagine. But I've been in Voodoo Authentica, I've been in Hex, I've been in I forget, it's a cult of something, but it's right on the same street as Voodoo Authentica. There's a lot of wonderful stores down there, and a lot of really knowledgeable folks that can help out. I mean, Bloody Mary, she is the Queen of Louisiana. So the Voodoo Queen of Louisiana, I mean, you can't argue with that. So again, you just gotta, I look at it this way. Everybody brings something different to the table, and I can learn from you, and we can all learn from each other. And I think it's pretty cool. I enjoy, that's one of the really good things I think out of this work that I've gained is just such a large community and tribe of friends and, acquaintances that, the joke, as my godmother says, she's like, and the joke is with me is everybody goes, talk to Shea. She knows everybody in town. And if she doesn't know them directly, she knows somebody who does.
And with that, we've got our 8 o'clock break. So we're going to have to come back on that. So everybody, this is our long break. Guys got some news coming up. So come back. You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
NPR podcasts are now available on every platform. Check out all our shows at npr.org/podcasts. That's npr.org/podcasts.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Speer. Accused Russian agent Maria Butina is due in court Wednesday to plead guilty to unspecified charges. NPR's Carrie Johnson reports Butina has been in federal custody since July.
Federal prosecutors have accused Maria Butina of conspiracy and acting as an agent of Russia inside the United States. Authorities say she conducted a secret influence campaign to cozy up to Republican politicians by forging connections through the National Rifle Association and the National Prayer Breakfast. In recent weeks, Butina has been in talks with prosecutors to plead guilty. Now her lawyers say they've reached a resolution with the Justice Department. Butina is scheduled to appear in court Wednesday afternoon for a change of plea hearing. She's been living in solitary confinement in the Alexandria, Virginia Detention Center, just outside Washington, D.C. Carrie Johnson, NPR News, Washington.
Now that it's official, John Kelly will be leaving. President Trump is said to be weighing at least 4 choices for people who could serve as his next chief of staff. That's after plans for an orderly transition appear to have fallen through. The change comes as the president gears up for re-election. It also continues to deal with the ongoing investigation about alleged ties to his 2016 campaign in Russia. Trump's top pick for the post, Nick Ayers, has taken himself out of the running, saying he'll be returning to Georgia. Ayers currently is chief of staff for Vice President Mike Pence. Whomever takes the job will be dealing with a president that two previous chiefs of staff have found difficult to work with. For much of the day, it looked like the stock market was going to extend recent losses, but that's not how